Let's get right into it. Number 10. The never-ending hum picture. You're 300 feet underwater in a steel tube the size of a small apartment building, and instead of silence, you live in a permanent rave of machinery. Not the fun kind of rave with glow sticks and bass drops, but the kind where your ears are assaulted by the ceaseless drone of pumps, fans, engines and pipes that sound like they're all conspiring to make sure you never know peace again. It's not just background noise, it's a personality trait of the submarine. Your brain, meanwhile, does what brains do best. It adapts by pretending this horrible industrial soundtrack is normal, until it doesn't. The moment the ship powers something off for maintenance, your neurons slam on the brakes and scream, "Wait, what's missing?" That silence, suddenly deafening, suddenly terrifying. It's like if your refrigerator stopped humming in the middle of the night, you'd bolt upright thinking, "Is this how I die?" Living in this auditory hellscape messes with your sleep too. White noise is one thing, but this is like trying to nap inside a blender that just swallowed a toolbox. Over time, the crew learns to tune out the constant hum, which is great. Except when you leave the submarine and realize you now find the sound of nature unsettling. Congrats, your nervous system has been recalibrated to crave industrial chaos. Basically, your ears get Stockholm Syndrome. Number 9, no sun, no problem, except all the problems. Your body is annoyingly needy. It wants food, water, and, oh yeah, that giant burning ball of fire in the sky. Submariners don't get that luxury. Living underwater means no sunlight, no vitamin D, and no natural circadian rhythm. Your body clock, that finely tuned machine that tells you when to eat, sleep, and contemplate life choices. Yeah, it's basically smashed with a wrench. Instead of sunrise and sunset, your day is dictated by fluorescent lights and a watch schedule that laughs at the concept of normal time. You could be eating breakfast at 2 a.m. and falling asleep while it's technically lunch. It's like Vegas down there. No windows, no clocks, and the vague feeling that someone is about to lose a lot of money. This messes with your hormones in ways scientists politely call suboptimal. Sleep deprivation, mood swings, and a fun little thing called submarine pallor make everyone look like ghosts who've been rejected from a Twilight casting call. And yes, vitamin D deficiency is real. Without supplements, your bones start plotting their rebellion, and your immune system basically files for early retirement. So yeah, your body may survive without the sun, but it doesn't forgive you for it. You just become a pale, irritable night goblin who doesn't remember what fresh air feels like. Number 8. The smell that never leaves. Imagine locking 100 sweaty humans in a metal tube, feeding them reheated food and recycling the same air for months. Congratulations, you've just bottled the submarine fragrance. Spoiler, it's not being sold at Sephora anytime soon. The air on a submarine is scrubbed and filtered, but that doesn't mean it smells like a meadow. More like socks, diesel fumes, wet metal, and whatever your bunkmate had for dinner last night. The scent soaks into everything: clothes, bedding, skin. When submariners come back to land, their families can smell the sub on them before they even walk in the door. It's basically eau de confinement. Your brain once again tries to cope. At first, the stench is unbearable. Then, slowly, you stop noticing. Your olfactory system waves the white flag and says, "Fine, I'll just pretend this is normal." But when you leave the sub, boom. Suddenly the smell is obvious again, like someone just lifted a curse. And the cruelest part? No matter how much you shower, some crews swear they can still smell it on themselves for days. Like the submarine has branded you as one of its own. Basically, you don't just serve on a sub, you marinate in it. Number 7. The perma-wet problem. Submarines are basically giant tubes full of people's breath, sweat, and condensation. And your reward for living in this humid steel sauna is nothing ever being truly dry. Clothes, damp. Sheets, damp. Your soul, definitely damp. Because you're underwater, the sub is constantly battling moisture that creeps into every corner. Humidity control systems work over time, but they can't stop your socks from feeling like they've been dipped in disappointment. You hang up a towel. Forget it. It'll stay clammy forever, mocking your hopes of comfort. Even the air feels like it's trying to stick to your skin, so you walk around like a human sponge, wondering if you'll ever know the luxury of crisp again. Psychologically, this messes with you more than you'd think. Dryness is a subtle but powerful cue of normal life. When you never feel dry, your brain slowly translates that into, I live in a swamp, and this is my destiny now. Combine that with limited personal space, and you're basically existing in a permanent locker room, a very angry, diesel-scented locker room. Oh, and let's not forget mold. Submariners are constantly at war with mold. The moment you turn your back, the fungus starts an uprising in the corners of your bunk. Nothing like a battle against nature while you're also trapped under thousands of tons of ocean. Number 6. Sleep roulette. You'd think that with no sunlight, you'd just be tired all the time. But no, submarines decide to make things extra weird. Instead of the standard 24-hour day, some subs run on an 18-hour schedule, 6 hours on duty, 12 off. Which sounds okay until you realize it means your day doesn't line up with the actual world anymore. Breakfast one day, dinner the next, and then suddenly you're eating spaghetti at what your body insists is bedtime. This constant time warping leaves your circadian rhythm in shambles. Your melatonin production, the thing that tells your brain, hey, it's sleepy time, gets so confused it basically quits its job. The result? Some days you feel like a zombie running on fumes. Other days you're wired and ready to debate philosophy with a mop. Psychologists call this circadian desynchronization. Submariners call it Tuesday. Over time, it creates a weird delirium where everyone's mood shifts unpredictably, like a reality show house but with more torpedoes. And sure, naps help, but there's nothing like trying to fall asleep with the sound of hydraulics groaning 3 feet from your head. Basically, submarine sleep isn't rest. It's more like repeatedly blacking out at random intervals and calling it a lifestyle. Number 5. Food weirdness. Okay, submarine food isn't terrible, at least not at first. Fresh supplies only last a couple of weeks, so early on you're dining on fruit, veggies, maybe even some decent meat. Then, slowly, the menu devolves into frozen, canned and powdered everything. Ever had eggs that were born as powder? Hope you like the taste of regret. Storage space is so tight that submarines actually stack food in the hallways at the start of a mission. You might literally trip over a box of cereal on your way to the control room. But once that's gone, meals get weirder. Frozen bread, mystery stews, powdered mashed potatoes that somehow taste both too salty and not salty enough. And desserts. Usually some Frankenstein hybrid of flour, sugar and well, we tried. But here's the kicker. Food isn't just fuel down there. It's one of the only morale boosters. A decent meal can make a bad day survivable, while a bad one can start a mutiny. Okay, not a literal mutiny, but a passive-aggressive one. Chefs are weirdly some of the most important people on board, because when you're living in a smelly tin can of doom, banana bread is basically a religious experience.
Number 4. The space-time closet.
Number 4. The space-time closet. Imagine living in a walk-in closet with 100 other people, except the closet is made of steel, and instead of clothes it's filled with pipes, wires and machinery that all hate you. That's submarine life. Personal space. Ha!
The closest you'll get to privacy is pulling a thin curtain across your bunk and pretending the world no longer exists.
The closest you'll get to privacy is pulling a thin curtain across your bunk and pretending the world no longer exists. Your room, if you can even call it that, is a coffin-sized bed stacked on top of someone else's coffin-sized bed. You can't even sit up without slamming your head, so all activities, reading, sleeping, existential despair, are performed lying down. Some sailors even hot rack, which is just as gross as it sounds. 2 or 3 people share the same bed, rotating through it in shifts. Congrats, your sheets now have multiple previous owners, like a mattress from Craigslist but smellier. Psychologically, this crams your sense of boundaries into a shoebox. Humans need a bubble of personal space to stay sane. On a sub, that bubble is constantly popped by elbows, knees, and the guy next to you who snores like a dying walrus. Over time, people adapt by shrinking their expectations of privacy until nothing feels weird anymore. Someone brushes their teeth 6 inches from your head? Totally fine. Someone changing socks next to your face? Normal Tuesday. It's like your brain signs a lease to live in uncomfortable proximity land, and there's no moving out until the mission ends. Number 3. Creeping paranoia. Here's a fun thought experiment. Take away sunlight, fresh air, privacy, and space. Then trap people in a giant pressurized tube under crushing water pressure where one leak could mean instant death. How do you think that affects the human brain? Spoiler, not great. Even if you're the calmest cucumber on land, the constant awareness of we are very far from breathable air plants a seed of paranoia. Some people obsessively check for drips, hisses, or strange sounds, convinced disaster is seconds away. Others develop this weird hyper-alertness, jumping at every mechanical noise, staring at pressure gauges like they're fortune tellers. And the kicker, they're not wrong to worry. Submarines are basically ticking stress machines, where even a small problem can escalate into a full-blown goodbye forever situation. Psychologists call this a background stress load. It's not that you're panicking every second, but your body runs at a low-level fight-or-flight mode non-stop. Heart rate up, cortisol up, sleep quality down. Over months, this chips away at mental health until you're basically living with a constant internal narrator whispering, "We're doomed," in between bites of powdered potatoes. So yeah, living on a sub turns your baseline personality into slightly paranoid raccoon. Number 2. Medical mayhem sick on land? No problem. You can hit up a doctor. Sick on a submarine. Hope you enjoy treatment from a crew member with just enough medical training to be dangerous. Subs usually carry one medical officer, sometimes just a trained corpsman, and the supply cabinet looks less like a hospital and more like the first aid aisle at CVS. You break a bone, they'll set it as best they can. Appendicitis? Oh boy, you better hope they packed a surgical kit, because you might be getting a surprise operation in the mess hall with your friends pretending not to watch. And infections? A paper cut can turn into a full-blown nightmare when you're living in a damp, recycled air petri dish. Even small health issues feel massive because you can't leave. Toothache? Welcome to weeks of throbbing agony. Migraine? Good luck in the world's loudest metal coffin. Mental health? Forget it. Therapy is not on the menu. At best, you get some antidepressants and a pep talk from a shipmate who's also losing his grip. Basically, your body has to sign a waiver that says, "Please don't break while we're 500 feet underwater, because our hospital is just a vibe and some gauze." Number 1, the silent killer, carbon dioxide. All right, let's wrap this claustrophobic nightmare with the creepiest reality of all. The air you breathe is always trying to betray you. On land, CO2 is just something trees politely vacuum up. On a submarine, it's public enemy number 1. Every single breath the crew exhales adds to the invisible pile of carbon dioxide filling the boat. And unless the scrubbers, basically high-tech Brita filters for air, keep up, things get spooky fast. Too much CO2 doesn't kill you dramatically, it creeps. First, you feel groggy, like you pulled an all-nighter binging conspiracy theory videos. Then comes the pounding headache, irritability, dizziness. At higher levels, you start making terrible decisions, which is exactly what you don't want in a boat stuffed with nuclear reactors and torpedoes. Left unchecked, your nervous system just taps out and you pass into eternal nap mode. What makes it extra sinister is that CO2 is odorless and invisible. You can't see it creeping up and you can't smell it.
Your only defense is the crew constantly checking gauges and trusting the scrubbers to do their job.
Your only defense is the crew constantly checking gauges and trusting the scrubbers to do their job, which, by the way, sometimes break. And when they do, there's no just open a window.
You re-stuck in a steel tube at the mercy of machines that decide whether you get oxygen or a slow suffocation.
You re-stuck in a steel tube at the mercy of machines that decide whether you get oxygen or a slow suffocation. So yes, submarines don't just fight enemies, they fight their own air. Every breath is a math equation between life and death. Basically, living on a submarine means playing Russian roulette with oxygen, and the house always cheats. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.